Who plays next weekend for the ABs and for the Boks? Who would you select if you were Scott Robertson and Rassie Erasmus, who have some selection dilemmas to wrestle with as they get ready, presumably tomorrow or even in a few hours' time, as it is when I record this in New Zealand? They'll be sitting down in team meetings and announcing the team internally to the squad and making their preparations for the game of the year. The world champions travelling to the backyard of the All Blacks, the world ranked number 1 against world ranked number 2, and that Eden Park record stood for 31 years. Will it still be standing 1 week from now? There are a couple of reasons, actually, why I want to do this video now. First one is that Faf de Klerk is now in contention. A lot of the question marks surrounded the New Zealand scrum half position with injuries to Cortez Ratima and to Cam Roigard. Are they going to be fit and available? Who might start? Who might be on the bench? Kyle Preston's been stood down from NPC duty, but now the scrum half question mark is Faf de Klerk going to be involved? The guy who has been involved in the last 2 World Cup finals, he's back in the squad for the Boks, a 4th scrum half for them. And one of the thoughts is, you wouldn't bring Faf de Klerk back in to the squad just as a backup, would you? If you're going to go to the trouble of picking a 4th scrum half, Faf de Klerk, and bringing him back in, presumably that means he's going to be involved in some way. And if that is the case, is that what you would do? So that's one of the things that has sparked this video. The other one is that the news, and I think it's the case, Rassie Erasmus is not going to give us his squad until Thursday, 48 hours before the game, when he is obliged to do so under the World Rugby rules. So we are not getting, by the look of it, a Bok Monday or a Bok Tuesday, which is what we've come to expect as the norm in the last couple of years. I mean, obviously now what will probably happen is Rassie will announce his team on Monday and throw the cat amongst the pigeons there. It might be a double bluff. But it looks like, if what I understand to be the case is true, we're not going to get the Bok team until Thursday, same time we get the New Zealand side as well. What's going on there? I think that possibly, if that ends up being the case, that just speaks to the magnitude of this matchup. Maybe there are some selection issues still to be ironed out. Some fitness still needs to be proved. Have a look at Faf de Klerk in training and the tactical element there. Or is this just not wanting to give the All Blacks any sort of advantage or advance warning of the side? So is there a little tactical curveball being hatched by Rassie that he doesn't want anyone to have any idea about? It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a huge game. I cannot wait for it. I want to know your thoughts in the chat down below. What is going on with those 2 decisions? What are some of the big selection dilemmas? I'm going to go through them. I'm going to pick my team, what I would pick. This is not me predicting what Scott Robertson or Rassie Erasmus will pick. This is me picking what I would pick if I were involved. And then I will do a combined 23-man squad at the end to sort of give a sense about where the balance of power lies. So the other one for New Zealand, from their point of view, because I've only been talking about the selection dilemmas for South Africa and what's going on with Faf de Klerk, but Caleb Clark played in the NPC at the weekend. I believe Anton Linnett-Brown is back. Tyrell Lomax is approaching a return, if not already available. What is the situation with Ratima and Roigard, and how does that change your thinking? So starting with the home side then and New Zealand, I've picked the players that I think are almost automatic selections in my mind. And then I've got some question marks as well. So as you can see, there's quite a few question marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a handful more on the bench as well. So that's quite a lot. And that isn't because New Zealand don't have great players. It's actually in some cases because they've got lots of good options and you don't know which combination would work best. But some of it is also because there isn't the cohesion that there has been in the past in the back line. And there are some players that have been injured and are just coming back to fitness. Wallace Satiti came back in the last round, but obviously the scrum half position is a real big one. And also, Argentina had a lot of change in the aerial battle, and that is something that South Africa are going to bring, which is why there are question marks in the back 3 as well. So, starting with the prop. Now, I would go with Tamaiti Williams to start at loosehead prop. I would put Ethan de Groot on the bench, and I would flip those around. I don't know if that's what Scott Robertson is going to do, but I would just get him on the field. One of the things that Rassie Erasmus has said before in interviews is he was talking about the haka, and he said there is no question the haka can give New Zealand a psychological boost. And the most important thing when you're facing New Zealand is whatever advantage they get from that, to take it away in the first minute of the game. So there's going to be a massive emphasis on those first couple of minutes. And Tamaiti Williams, all 145, 150 kilos of him, get him on the field and get the ball in his hands and get him starting making some dents. Who wins the collision is probably going to dictate who wins this game, and set the tone early. And a really good player like Ethan de Groot can come on afterwards. Cody Taylor, obviously, at hooker. Tight head prop. I mean, the obvious thought is Fletcher Newell played really well 2 games in a row. Go for a third. I would go Tyrell Lomax. If there's even a sniff that he is available, get him in and I'd put Newell on the bench. My thinking there is exactly the same reason as Tomighty Williams should start. Tyrell Lomax is, on his day, world class. Yes, he might be slightly undercooked, but that's why you would start him. So if there's any issues or if he blows after 30 minutes, he can come off and Fletcher Newell can come on and you can be confident in him doing a job. Lomax can gather his breath, and if he's got anything in him and something happens to Fletcher Newell, he can come back on. So yeah, that's what I would do. There was a thought in my mind about moving Tupu Vai to second row. That's where he played against... Yeah, that was where he played against... Was it where he played against France when New Zealand played really well? And last year... Trying to remember. Anyway, I would consider putting Tupu Vai in a second row. Fabian Holland, for the first time, looked like not just an unbelievable player. I mean, he looked really good, but he looked human against Argentina. His move into international rugby has been incredible, Fabian Holland. He's almost a shoo-in at this point to win World Breakthrough Player of the Year. I would continue with him there. I just think that South Africa's line-out has had a wobble, and you saw how good Nick Frost, Jeremy Williams were against that. And if I were New Zealand, I would be trying to put as much pressure on that Bok line-out. And with Vai, Holland and Barrett, they can do that. Savia will obviously be in the team. Should he be 8? Should he be 7? I would put Wallace Satiti in. I'd put Parker on the bench. I thought Parker had a really promising debut against Argentina, got through a load of work. There is an argument for Karifi. There is an argument for Lakai on the bench. There's an argument to start Parker because he's a bigger body, could make some dents with the ball carries. I would just get Satiti on. Take the ball by the horns. Just go for it. Roll the dice. Leave no questions. Leave no stone unturned. Just get your best players on the pitch. And I think that's the best players available. If they're all available, that is. So to the back line, I'm going to start with the wing, Caleb Clark, because I think New Zealand had such a torrid time under the high ball. I do think a change needs to happen in the back three. Caleb Clark, he's got a left foot on him. He's good. He's better aerially than Sevu Reece who was under pressure. Then what do you do? Rieko Ioane has been on the wing after New Zealand fans didn't like him at centre. Now there's loads of those same New Zealand fans saying they want him back in the centre again. Is there an argument for that? There's definitely an argument, even for a one-off game. And then you could continue with Sevu Reece on the wing. You can move Jordan to the wing and move Beauden Barrett back with DMAC going to 10. I think I would actually keep it the same. Billy Proctor and Geordie Barrett, do they have a bit more cohesion and a bit of work to do? Yes. Does Rieko Ioane not quite look 100% himself out on the wing? Yeah, I totally agree. But I think I would persist. I would just change Caleb Clark in that back line. And then you're left with the bench and the scrum half position. Now, I'm going Finlay Christie to start. Ratima looked good in that first game, went off, and then Finlay Christie looked really good. I think Finlay Christie's job is going to be to kick really accurately. Territory is going to be massive. Well-judged box kicks is going to be huge. He's actually really good at that. And get the ball into Beauden Barrett's hands and Geordie Barrett, and they can manage and put some of the longer, more probing kicks in to try and pin South Africa back. And then if there is even a sniff at Cam Roigard, get him in. Get that guy in. And then the final question is, do you go 6-2 or do you go for a 5-3? I think when you look at Ardie Savia, Tupu Vai, Scott Barrett, these are 80-minute rugby players. So I don't think there is the necessity to go 6-2. I would stick with 5-3 and I would put Anton Linnett-Brown in. He's got a bit of stick as well. He has made some errors. His discipline has been poor. New Zealand needs to solve that generally. But I think I would put him in. Experience is going to be massive in this one. And he's played in lots and lots of big games. And he's done well in big matches as well. So yeah, that's my thinking with New Zealand. As for South Africa, there's quite a few question marks. The automatic picks are the front row. You could have Thomas du Toit starting and Wilco Louw on the bench. Whatever the case, I think those are the two. I think Oxenchaiten, I would go Jan-Hendrik Wessels on the bench at loosehead prop. And with no Bongi and Mbambi, it's Malcolm Marx and Marcel van der Merwe. Marcel van der Merwe only got 2 minutes last time. As for the second row, options there are, I've put RG Sneeman on the bench already. You've got Franco Moster, you've got Lou Diaga, you've got Ruan Norkia, all really good options. I'm going with Diaga. I'm putting Moster on the bench. I thought Norkia was actually really good in the last game. But again, just like I said with Anton Linder-Brown, experience is massive. This is a bit of a one-off game because there's so much on the line and it is going to be so tight and tense. Home advantage for New Zealand, form and recent history for the Boks. Franco Moster is just his engine. It goes on for days. So does Ruan Norkia's, and I could be quite happy with him there as well. But that's what I've gone with. As for the back row, Sia Kolisi is back. Pieter-Steph du Toit is back. Kolisi is 100% going to be in the back row. Is he going to be in the 8 jersey? Is he going to be in the 6 jersey? Van Staden and Kolisi, that is the obvious selection. That's probably what I would go with Quacker Smith on the bench. I am tempted, though, to think about that. Kolisi on the flank, not a number 8, and Jean-Luc Depree. I was really excited to see him in the last game. Obviously, if Jasper Wiese was available, Jasper Wiese would be in that 8 jersey. But it does feel like they need someone who can kind of do Dwayne Vermeulen type things on the ball carry, win those collisions. New Zealand are a big physical pack. So even though he hasn't had a start in 7 years and missed last week, I do think there's a genuine argument, and I might be very, very tempted to go for Jean-Luc Depree to start. And, I mean, it feels harsh on Marco van Staden because he's been really good. But, yeah, I've got him outside of the 23. But stick a pin in that because I have one more thought as I complete the back line. Is it going to be Kane and Moody on the wing? Makazole Mapimpi is another option. Obviously, Edville van der Merwe, Kurtley Arendse unavailable. And fullback, Fassi, Fillemse, Willy Leroux. There's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of players that have emerged and established themselves. But who is the right person for the job in this particular match? I'm going Mapimpi on the wing. Moody made a bunch of errors. And Mapimpi, forget about his age. The guy could keep going for another 5 years. Look, he's in incredible nick. And he's had a brilliant season playing in the URC. And he will just chase kicks for days and put pressure on. And defensively really solid. So I'm going to go for Mapimpi. I'm not going to, with the same reasoning, lots of experience, I'm still going to stick with Fassi, who hasn't been at his best. But there will be moments in the match where it does open up and where there is an opportunity. Yes, Willy Leroux is brilliant as a second playmaker, but what Fassi offers on the attacking side of the game, he's really good in the air as well, but what he offers on the attacking side of the game, counter-attack, transitions, and South Africa looked brilliant at that in those first 20 minutes against Australia. I think Fassi's really important for that, and I would keep him in. Now, my thinking on the bench, what happens? The obvious thought is that Reinach goes in there as scrum half, but now Faf de Klerk's back in the mix. If you're going to pick Faf de Klerk in the squad, surely you pick him in the team. You pick him in the matchday squad. Why would you get Faf de Klerk out there to be a backup as the 4th choice scrum half? So with Faf de Klerk there, with how good he is at defence and box kicking, which are going to be hugely important in tight, tense matches, he's played in World Cup finals, the last 2 of them. I think I go Faf de Klerk involved. And here's the thought as well. I wonder if this is what is going on with Faf de Klerk. Here is my thought. Hear me out. Faf de Klerk can goal kick. So I wonder if Faf de Klerk has been brought in because South Africa are going 7-1. And this is the team I'm going to suggest a 7-1 split. Go for the jugular. Yes, if a centre goes down injured, you could be in trouble. Maybe that's a reason why Kane and Moody would be stay in the team instead of Makazole Mapimpi. But Jean-Luc Depree could start at number 8. Marco van Staden could be on the bench, along with 6 other forwards. And South Africa have got the muscle memory of doing exactly this in that game before the Rugby World Cup at Twickenham. I just think with Faf de Klerk there, he could end up being the only back on the bench. The flip side of that is Grant Williams is quite often the guy on the bench in a 7-1 split because he can go on the wing. So actually, is this a case of start Faf de Klerk, Williams on the bench? De Klerk and Pollard has worked before. So in fact, I think I'm doing that. I think I might do that. Fafi at 9, Williams 23, who can cover the wing. And maybe Kane and Moody starts then. But just a thought. Just a thought. Let me know what you think. As for a combined 23-man squad, if I took those 23 South Africans And I took the 23 New Zealanders that I selected, and you pit number 1 against number 1, number 2 against number 2, and down the list. Where do you get to? That is where I get to. 4 and 4 in the pack, with some really, really tight calls, by the way, because Malcolm Marks, I think, is a better hooker, but Cody Taylor has been the better hooker, and New Zealand's line-out has been functioning brilliantly, and South Africa's has wobbled, so I've just gone for Taylor, although Marks is obviously incredible. Scott Barrett I thought about, but he's a tight head lock, so I've gone for Diarca along with Etzebeth. And in the back row, the choice between Kolisi and Savia is so close, so I've gone for Savia. Same for Satiti over Dupria, or in that team. And in the back line, much more green. With quite an even situation on the bench. However, that is in a situation where I'm picking number 1 against number 1. So Oxenche or Tamaiti Williams, and Ardi Savia against Sia Kolisi. What if I could just pick anyone in any jersey, just take those 46 players and put them into a 23-man squad? Well, it would look a bit more like this. With Savia moved to 8 and Kolisi into the team, with Satiti on the bench. And with Bowden Barrett, I put at 15, and Jordan to the wing, and more New Zealanders on the bench. 6 of them there out of the 8, meaning that there are, and this gives you an idea of just how tight this is going to be, 11 New Zealanders and 12 South Africans. More of the South Africans starting, but in terms of the involvement, this one is going to be close. New Zealand have got the home advantage. South Africa have got the recent record. World number 1 v world number 2. I cannot wait for this match. I think some of the selection question marks make this so interesting, and it's going to be about tactics and the right player for the right job against this certain opponent. How do you think it's going to go? What would you pick? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.